The 7 heads are 7 mountains.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains. Jason, the 7 heads are 7 mountains. Go ahead.
On which the woman sitteth.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sits. Go ahead.
And there are 7 kings.
And there are 7 kings. So he's telling you, but you got to know global biblical history, not American history. Ain't nobody talking about you. Ain't nobody talking about you in the United States. They talking about global history in John's time, stuff that he can relate to. Okay, go ahead.
And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen.
5 are fallen. Now John knows the 5 who are fallen. I mean, he knows that. He knows the 5 who are fallen. Go ahead.
And one is.
One
other
is.
one is not yet to come.
One is. So he said one is. Who is the one that is in John's time? Thank you. No, that's not hard. He said 5 have fallen. The one is. That's John's time. But then he says what?
And the other is not yet to come.
The other is yet to come. He said the other is yet to come. This yet to come is very crucial because I believe she's going to come on the scene with the help of a whole lot of believers who are deceived. Whole lot of believers who are deceived. Go ahead.
And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th.
Okay, the beast that was, but it's not. He said he's of the 8th, but he's really part of the 7th because he's been here before. He's just coming back on the scene. He's hidden and he's coming back on the scene. You could learn a whole lot just go and study ancient Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar, and everything that happened during that time. You'll understand it. Hey, go ahead.
And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings.
Okay, now he says, now I'm gonna tell you who the 10 horns that you saw. These are 10 kings, but these jokers ain't got no kingdom. Keep going.
Which have received no kingdom as of yet.
How can you be a king with no kingdom? He said these 10 kings, but haven't received a kingdom. How can you be a king and not receive a kingdom and don't have a kingdom, Janae? Anybody?
Get the authority from the beast.
Girl, somebody that gave you authority that don't belong to you, Bill Gates. You don't sit in no seat of authority, but somebody's gave you authority over nations. You have become a king and you don't even have a kingdom. But somebody has given you the ability to become a king. The Most High is in this though, because the Most High knows the heart of a man. He will cause enemies to terminate each other. Because if Antoine makes me a king but don't give me a kingdom, eventually I'm gonna want a kingdom. And I'm looking at Antoine like, okay, dog, here's my man. You made me king, but I want a kingdom. Antoine like, well, you ain't got no kingdom. I run things here. Look, all right, no problem. We'll take you down in a minute. We ain't gonna tell you nothing. We're gonna take you down in a minute because guess what? I want my own kingdom. I'm a king. So he says, go ahead.
But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
They receive, they kings, but ain't got no kingdom. But they receive power 1 hour from the beast. Now that 1 hour is not like 1 hour in a day. During whenever the beast allows them to. That's what it means. At an appointed time where the beast allows them to. Go ahead.
These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen in faith. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth.
Now remember, she sits on many waters. So he says, I'm gonna help you understand where the waters are. Go ahead.
Are peoples.
Peoples.
And multitudes.
My wife got it right there. Multitudes.
And nations.
Nations.
And tongues.
And languages.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked.
So the 10 horns who get their power from the beast shall hate the beast. Because they ain't got no kingdom. They'll be like, give me this whole kingdom. He was like, no, I can't give you the kingdom. So go ahead.
And shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will. And
so God is going to put in the 10 kings' heart, even though they're wicked, to fulfill his will. He's going to use them 10 wicked kings because they're going to be the ones to turn on the beast. Go ahead. Go ahead. And here's the thing. You see this unfolding right before your eyes. There's people who are on the same team and they're beginning to turn on one another. They don't know who to trust. You just saw General Maddox join the beast camp. General Maddox was on a different team. But he was like, nope. He knows this beast has power. Let me go and jump this ship real quick. Go ahead.
For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled.
God is the Most High is in control of all this. Go ahead.
And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigned over the kings of the earth.
Okay. That's the foundation. I'm not going to break all this down. I'm going to pick this up next week because I'm trying to take you somewhere, but I'm trying to get you to understand. I'm challenging you on this. I'm challenging everybody on this because keep in mind, this teaching is about learning who your enemy is and the schemes of your enemy. And you've got to look at it from a global perspective because that's where John is looking. He's telling John, 5 have fallen. 1 is and 1 to come. John can understand that. John is not looking at this from a United States perspective. He's looking at this from a global biblical history perspective. Okay? Now, let's shoot over to Ephesians. Jonathan, you ready? I want you to read loud. And Jonathan, go to the King James Version if you can. Okay. Now, before I go any further, I need Rick. Rick came over yesterday, and we were discussing this word Babylon. Do you mind, Rick? Do you mind? Before I go any further, I want Rick to help us understand something about Babylon. Rick is, because the Most High challenged me yesterday. He says, everybody's talking about Babylon. Do you know what Babylon means in Hebrew? And I was like, okay. So I began to study. But Rick, who understands Hebrew,
We'll use that right there.
okay, I'll just hold it.
Okay.
So Rick, who understands Hebrew, happened to come over yesterday. Can y'all see this?
No, bro. It's a light on it.
Okay, no problem. No
You got
problem.
people.
You'll hear Rick talking.
You got people in the waiting room too, bro.
Okay, so there's people in the waiting room.
Hey, just keep teaching, man. As long as we can hear you, we good.
Okay, thank you, Roy. See, Roy military like ass. Roy like, man, come on, let's just go. Roy is my buddy, retired Marine Corps, E8, E9, E10.
We ain't gonna hold that against you, Roy.
They don't know,
Semper
Roy.
Fi.
Antoine, bless you. God bless you and your family.
You were Air Force, right?
Yeah,
Air Force.
but I hung out with all Marines because I'm a Marine at heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I married a Marine.
Marine at heart.
I have a Marine mentality.
Show me what you were praying as you was cutting grass first.
About the, I'm trying to remember.
You was cutting grass and then he said, Most High dealt with you about Babylon.
Yeah, and so I was cutting grass, and Most High was like, go and study from the Hebrew perspective what Babylon is, what it means. So Rick happened to be coming over yesterday anyway. So me and Rick were sitting on the couch, because he brought me some information. He said, there's some information I need you to have for this video. And to be honest, the information that he gave me, we're already on the same page. So I asked Rick, what does he think it means? And Rick started writing it out. And then he said one thing, but then the Most High opened up our mind and showed us something else. So go ahead, Rick.
All right. So if you can see, the very top is Babel. So we're talking about Babylon. When I go back to Babylon. So the origin of Babylon is actually the word Babel. So to the right, top right, is Babylon in Hebrew. So you got Bet, Lamed, and a Nun. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 letters. To the top left. So then we got on the top, top right. In the top left, we got the word Babel. Now the base word for Babylon is Babel. So we go from Babel to Babylon. And so what I broke down, the first time we mentioned this thing is in Genesis 10, 8 through 14. Now you want to go there or just have this reference that later?
They have reference
Reference that later, okay. So that's the first mention. And the first mention of Babylon is in 2 Kings 17, 24. All right. So I broke down the etymological meaning of all the letters in Hebrew. All right. So for Babel, we have the first little letter there. The first letter is called a bet, it's a B. Next letter is the same thing, a B. The third letter in the word Babel is a Lamed, it's a L, so B-B-L, Babel. One at the top right, Babylon, we have a B for B. B for B again, the L, the Lamed, and then N, a little thing at the end, it's called a Nun. It's the letter for N. All right, so break that down, it means, the B, it means a house. So in Hebrew, everything in Hebrew has a meaning. Everything that God made has a numerical value, has a symbol that goes behind it. Nothing he made is not wasted. All right. So the bet is a house. The L, the Lamed, is a leader. And that's references the shepherd. He has something that he posts and he makes the sheep move with. Right. Now the very last thing which says fish, secured, nail, that's called the Nun. And so we have a house leader and we have a fish. So if you look at this word here, you say, well, first time it was mentioned was actually in verse 9 in Genesis 10, right? So it was confusion, confounded. So the Most High doesn't bring it. He said, I'm not the author of confusion, right? So how can he say this in his word and understand what he's saying is being the same thing, right? So he's not saying no kind of lie. So what is he saying? Well, I'm the author of confusion, but the word says confusion if you read the script. So what's going on with this thing? That's in English. That's deception. So what he says here, I am an author of words, right? And these words have different meanings. I can have a positive effect with words, or I can have a negative effect with words. But dealing with the word Babylon is always a negative thing. You never want to say, hey, let's go vacation to Babylon. Has anyone ever said that? I don't think so. So it's always negative, right? So we understand this is a negative thing. So when you get over here, look at this word, right? So we're breaking this down. And so it means two houses. So we got the two leaders. Are y'all following about the leaders? So we go down to, so it says confounded. You see the word confounded. The word for confounded is Bala. It's Bala. So Balel is a word for basically confusion. So what he says in this thing is this. When you see these letters, there's two lamets, and here there's two bets. So here you have two leaders. In this word, you have two houses. So you break this thing down, it looks like almost like ball. No, two leaders, yes, and two houses. And two houses. Not one. Not one. Two leaders and two houses. Go ahead. So what happens when it ties into? We'll get into this next week. It ties into what we cover here. So if this is James' house. So if he had another leader in the house, what are they called? Okay. So it can't be two leaders in one house. So now let's say James has another house next door. Now he has two houses, but he's one leader. How can he take care of two houses? Put another leader there. But that's not the source of the word. So the word says here, two leaders in one house, or you got two houses, one leader. In either case, there cannot be organization, right? So when it breaks down here, we have either two houses with one leader, or we have two leaders in one house. So two leaders leading, basically, what Babylon means is two leaders leading you away from the cross of the nail. So basically it's saying there are multiple ways that the enemy is presented to you today in his life to deceive you and lead you to hell. Multiple ways. The enemy comes in different ways. So what I've been trying to get people for the longest to understand, Babylon
It's not one place.
Not at all.
Babylon is many places that's coming under one house to move you away from the Most High. That's what Babylon is. And so when you see these kings, and these kings teaming up with the beast, all of them are doing one thing. Every nation that has this power, and we're going to talk about who this is next week, but they're leading every culture, every nation away from what they're supposed to be secured to. Go ahead, Rick.
They only got one goal. So it's multiple ways leading for one goal. So who are the enemies of this world? The Bible says, don't love this world. So you're in the world. We here, we go to work, we do things, we have neighbors, we go back and forth, but you're not of this world. So what is the distinguishing factor that keeps you from locking into these things that we see every day, we do every day, we go every day? Your mind. That's why they use this thing, that TV, them phones, these tablets, the news, the media, to put words in your head to confound you, so you are like the ones at Tower of Babel. And guess what? You walking with seats. You keeping the sack. You're not eating glory, but you're on the road to hell. Because you're confused about who your heavenly Father is.
And you're confused about who your enemy is.
Very confused about who your enemy is. Very confused. Because again, the enemy is telling you who the enemy is. And you listening, you digesting in your spirit, and now it's become part of you. And you wonder why you get the results that you're getting.
So if now next week, me and Rick, we're going to break all this down and go into great detail. But it takes so much time to do that. Because there are some things they got to see today. So now, remember the purpose of this teaching. Learning who your enemy is and learning the schemes of your enemy. Okay? Let's go to Ephesians. Jonathan, you there? Ephesians 6. Pick up at verse 10.
What chapter?
Ephesians 6. Pick up at verse 10. Go ahead.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil.
Okay. He says, finally, brother, be strong in the Most High and the strength of the might. Put on the whole armor of God to be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. I need to talk about this word wiles. This word wiles is the Greek word methodia. Methodia is where we get the word methods from. It's also translates into the Hebrew word that stands for trickery, to lie in wait, and to travel over. Very important. It means to travel over. Y'all follow me? It means to move from one place to another, meaning that the enemy, what does the scripture say? The enemy walks to and fro the earth, seeking whom he may devour. To and fro the earth. She says, he says here, stand against the wiles of the enemy, the trickery, the way he lies in wait, the way he travels from one place to another. And it also means travesty. All right? So it says, so that you may be able to stand against the methods, the trickery of the enemy. You can see him when he moves from one nation to another nation. Or as he travels from nation to nation to nation. You're going to see that here in a minute as we go into the visual part of it. Keep going.
For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood.
Okay. Now he says, what you're really not wrestling against is flesh and blood. Even though the enemy uses flesh and blood, because the scripture has already told you that in Revelation, he's going to set up kings. These are people. But he said, the Most High said, but to understand this, you got to look deeper than the people. Because the enemy can use a Hebrew. He can use somebody to look like you, and you run out and support him. You ain't looked at none of his methods. You ain't looked at none of his schemes. You got your Facebook picture, his picture. Hold on. Yeah, one of them. That's just one of them. But you haven't looked at the schemes of the enemy. You haven't looked at nothing that he stands for. So he says, you're not really battling against flesh and blood. Even though the enemy is going to use flesh and blood, you got to look at the methods. Because I'm looking at Hebrew people talk about how the LGBT is taking over. I'm like, you supported the one who gave the LGBT all the power. So what are you crying about? And then they get uncomfortable. I'm like, bro, you got to learn the schemes of your enemy. That's why me as a teacher be frustrated, because I'm on my face praying that the Most High get rid of these people. But I know my Hebrew brothers are saying, no, please return. And we sitting in the same camp. There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that. But I understand. I'm trying to be patient because I understand and Rick understands. They don't understand the schemes of the enemy. They too caught up in skin color. They too caught up in this, not realizing biblically your enemy has never had a skin color. Never. He didn't care if you was Egyptian, Babylonian, Assyrian, Greek, European. He didn't care. He didn't care. So keep going, Jonathan. Verse 12. Where you at?
For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities.
Principalities. I got to stop there. The word principality means commencement. Follow me. He said, you're not battling against flesh, but against principality. The word principality means commencement. The word commencement means a beginning or a start. So the Most High is saying, what you're battling against, you got to go back to the beginning to understand it. Because keep in mind, when the serpent deceived Eve and Adam, keep in mind, these people walk with the Most High during the cool of the day. But he didn't look like, the reason that they received what he offered them is because he didn't look like a serpent. He was adorned with the things of the Most High. He wasn't crawling on his belly yet. And instead of listening and learning the principles that the Most High gave him to identify, he had already used trees. You can tell the tree by his fruit. So he gave him a tree of life and a tree of knowledge of good and evil, and told you every tree produces after its own kind. So the enemy comes and they're looking at his adornment, saying he looked like the Most High. Because if you need to go and read how the scripture describes Hasatan, scripture says he was blameless in all his ways. There was nothing like him. He was called the son of the morning. He was the bright and morning star. He was the anointed cherubim that covered. There was nothing like him. So instead of them learning the schemes and the method, they're saying, well, of course, we good because he looked like the Most High. He looked like the Most High to us. And they say, you know, they eat and everything has changed. So this word principality means commitment, commencement. It means a beginning or a start. It also means a place of rank. It also means to rehearse from the beginning. That's what it means, to rehearse from the beginning. Satan in the garden or the first Babylon. So keep reading. Against principalities.
Against powers.
I got to stop right there. I mean, we got to learn these things because here's what happens. He's telling us you battle not against flesh and blood. He's giving you everything to figure out who you battle against. This word powers is where we get the word exousia. It means competency. So to know what you're battling against, because what you're battling against is more competent than you are. The Most High says you better walk in wisdom. That's why when you go to Revelation, the angel's talking to John, he says, it takes the mind of wisdom to understand it. You got to be confident. That's why the angel's telling John, it takes the mind of wisdom, because the word power means, the word power means competency, mastery. It also means superhuman, one with influence, one with authority, one with strength. The idea of being out in public and setting law. That's what the word exudes. It all means all of that. It means to be out in public with authority, setting law. So the Most High says, You're not battling against flesh and blood. You're battling against all these principalities. You better learn. See, here's one of the issues. And we're going to follow this in a minute. I remember 2007, 2008, right here in San Antonio, we were battling a non-discrimination ordinance. I was one of the few people in my community down there. I'm talking on a constant basis. Because I know that's where all of this lies. That's where all of this lies. But our problem is, right now, the Hebrew person house is so out of order that they can't even find the time to go out and learn the schemes of their enemy. Because they're too busy trying to get their house in order. I'm like, that should have been together a long time ago. Especially if you've been walking in the Torah 5, 10, 15 years. That should have been together a long time ago. But since we're so occupied with trying to get our house in order, people like me, like, okay, let me find a person like Rick or somebody who already got their house in order so we can go and deal with the enemy. Because the Hebrew camp is too busy trying to still figure their house out. While the enemy is taking over territory. That's what this word means. Powers means exousia, competency, mastery, superhuman, influence, authority. The idea of being in public and setting law. Keep going, Jonathan. We're almost there in a second.
Against powers, against the rulers of the
I gotta stop. He said against rulers. What does the word ruler mean? Ruler is where we get the word cosmos, world. An epithet of Satan. Epithet means expressing a quality characteristics of a person. So the Most High is saying, listen, to stand against your enemy, you need to understand all this. He's like, you're not up against no lightweight. You're like, do you know who you're dealing with? He goes back to the ancient of time. I made him. Learn the schemes of your enemy. If not, he would disguise himself as loving you, and you will help put a noose around your neck. This ain't no lightweight. And Hebrew people are arrogant. They just think, oh, we got him. I'm like, really? We'll see. We'll see if you got him. Because you don't understand this ain't no lightweight. Think about this. This enemy convinced 1/3 of the heavenly host to follow him. You think you're dealing with a lightweight? You ain't got no more time to be sitting trying to get your sin in order. You better deal with your life and learn who your enemy is. You ain't got no more time to trying to get set free from all your fleshly issues. Get that under control and learn who your enemy is. Because guess what? You could be trying to save your house, but your house is going into bondage with everybody else. So y'all just be some obedient people under bondage. Some good old people under bondage. So keep going, Jonathan.
Against the rulers of the darkness of this age. Against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places.
This is what you're up against. You can't take this lightly. Go ahead.
Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having girded your waist with truth, having put on.
You can stop right there. He said the first thing you need to gird your waist with truth. See, the law, the Torah is called truth. It's supposed to give you the ability to see other things. But I believe the problem that the Hebrew community has made is they only focus on 3 things. Dietary law, Sabbath, and the feast. Dietary law, Sabbath, and I'm like, come on, bro. I'm like, those are like elementary things. You better get some light in you. I'm like, you better get some light in you so you can learn who your enemy is. This walk is deeper than dietary law, Sabbath, and feast. The law was given to you so you can identify your enemy. So you won't give yourself over to the mark of the beast. That's why he wanted you to have a law. Because guess what? Every nation that walked against his law, they began to walk in the ways of heathens that was already under the beast system. Let me just pause. I was talking about Elijah, right? We're good. I'm not worried about this time. If y'all gotta leave, just leave, but I'm gonna teach today. If one person left, I'm gonna teach. Because I'm gonna get through this portion, because this is important, all right? I was talking about Elijah, and I asked Barry earlier. I said, do you know why Elijah was hiding in the cave? And Barry, I can't remember what you said.
Jezebel.
He said Jezebel. So no. So I said, keep in mind who Elijah is. I said, Elijah has already slain 400 prophets of Baal. He can walk up and take Ahab. Read the book of Joshua, and you'll figure out who Elijah is. Elijah ain't no joke. He can walk in, take Ahab's neck off, take Jezebel's neck off, and go on and eat his lunch. That's not why he's hiding in the cave. He's hiding in the cave because the rest of his Hebrew brothers had taken the mark of the beast. And he knows these jokers coming to get me. They can battle just like I can because these are my brothers.
Up against 2.3 million.
Yeah, like these jokers here. Ain't nobody worse to come after you than somebody who know your own tactics. So you go to Kings. Let's shoot over there real quick. Let's shoot over there real quick. Go to 1 Kings 19. But we're going to shoot through this and keep it moving because I'm really trying to get somewhere. 1 Kings 19. Somebody pick up at verse 1.
And Ahab told Jezebel all.
1 Kings 19.
Also.
Okay, go ahead.
right.
And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah,
You at
saying,
1 Kings 19?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Hold on. Let me see where I'm at here. And he came into the cave. That's what I'm looking for. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on, let's see.
That's verse 9, chapter 19.
1 Kings 19, verse 9. I'm sorry. 1 Kings 19, verse 9.
and he came thither unto a cave and lodged there. And behold, the word of Yahuwah came to him, and he said unto him, what dost thou here, Elijah? And he said, I have been very jealous for Yah, God of hosts, for the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant.
Who?
Children of
Who?
Israel.
Children of Israel have forsaken your covenant. Go ahead.
Thrown down thine altars and slain thy prophets with the sword, and I, even I only, am left, and thou seek my life to take it
You
away.
can stop right there. He said the children of Israel. He said these jokers have tore down. He said they done broke your. Go ahead.
Brother, I hope you don't mind me, because this reminds me of when Yeshua is saying later how, I guess, the behavior of the Israelites, like where he mentions Elijah. There was many widows in the time of Elijah, but he didn't send them to any of the children of Israel, but to a woman in Sarepta.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because he know how we are. He know how we are. So Elijah is hiding in the cave because he was like, Jezebel has already caused my brothers to join her.
All Israel ain't Israel.
What's that?
All Israel is not Israel. You know how this says in the Bible.
No, this
All
is Israel. I mean,
Well,
you have
you know what I'm
Base
saying.
behavior.
Yeah, just because they say they're Israel doesn't mean they're gonna make it into Yah's
no.
kingdom.
It has nothing. Making it into Yah's kingdom has nothing to do with whether you biblical Israel or grafted in Israel. It has to do with walking in the way of the Most High.
I think what she's getting at is, so you're gonna later see 7,000 never bow the knee. So you got those that walk with Yah,
Yes.
and those
Yes.
that are
Yes.
natural born
Yes.
that walk with Baal.
Right.
Exactly.
But they look like you said, they keep the dietary laws of Sabbath, but it's like they don't have a heart.
I don't even know if they do that.
No,
The
these
number-
people have totally gone into idolatry.
That's what I'm curious. The number one thing is they still go into idolatry.
Okay.
They still go into idolatry. they're not well studied because they don't study the scheme of their enemy. They have celebrations thinking that they're free and still not free. They'll have a celebration thinking that they're free, not understand the scripture told you you're not free. So what you doing Juneteenth for?
Yeah.
Because and then wonder the day after Juneteenth why you got a foot on your neck. If you free, you free. He who the Son sets free is what?
Free indeed.
Free indeed. That's what I told you. So he's giving you all the signs to show you I ain't not free. So why are you trying to have a celebration being free when he says, no, when I set you free, you're going to be really free. So Elijah is running because guess what? His brothers have already taken a mark. They've already taken a mark. They supporting that modern day Planned Parenthood the same way brothers are supporting this modern day Planned Parenthood. They casting their children in the fire to Molech. We casting our children to the altar of Planned Parenthood. With the help of Hebrews, 34% Hebrew. 34% of babies being slaughtered by 13% of the people. And brothers are right at that pole, pulling that slot machine for all the politicians that support this, because they have very little light in them. They have a form of godliness, but no exousia. They don't understand the schemes of the enemy. Because that word goes back to what Ephesians is talking about. So now, let's talk about Moses. And then we'll get into part 2 of this. Moses. What caused Moses to be qualified to deliver his people? Was it because he a Hebrew, or was it something that he understood that I'm trying to get everybody in this room to understand today? What causes Moses to be qualified? Let's go and read it. Go to Acts chapter 7. Because I put here, how was Moses able to deliver the people from Pharaoh and his bondage? Moses did not go to Pharaoh, first of all, without the Ruach. Neither did he go without the staff. Neither was he ignorant. The one thing that Pharaoh couldn't perceive was that Moses knew the history and philosophy of the Egyptians. And he was confounded, and he confounded an entire kingdom for the deliverance of his people. Let's read it. Somebody go to Acts 7 and just read verse 20 through 22. Acts 7, verse 20 through 22.
At this time, Moses was born and was well pleasing to God, and he was brought up in his father's house for 3 months. But when he was set out, Pharaoh's daughter took him away and brought him up as her own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was mighty in words and deeds.
Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. So Moses understood. So when he went to them, he confounded them because he understood how the Egyptians operate. He understood that. We have to understand that. So as we go into part 2 of this, I'm going to show you guys some things. I'm going to ask you what you see. And then I may ask Rick, what does he see? We're all going to be watching the same thing. All right? And it's not to expose anyone, but I just want to show you how people see different things, because the Most High shows them different things. And when the Most High shows them, they ain't going to move from it. They ain't going to move from it. They may try to work with you. They may try to be friendly. But in their heart, they already know I'm not moving. Because the Most High showed it to them. And you can go down whatever road you want. I will bid you adieu, and we'll still, but guess what? As far as my personal life, and as far as my family, we ain't going down this road. Because he showed us what the enemy is, and you get very few opportunities to see that. So, thank you, Rick. I appreciate it, man. What's up? And a lot of these are short. Some of them are a little longer. We may not get through them all today. All right, let's check this first one out. I'm gonna ask you what you see, and then I may ask Rick, what does he see?
We that could be heading now toward public safety headquarters.
Now keep in mind, this city,
Again,
I started with our city. I don't want to start anywhere else, because if you are not involved in what you can't be a prophet or a watchman for the state or a nation if you don't understand your city. All right? If you don't understand, if you're not involved in what's going on in your city. So let's look at our city.
is a live look at protest 102 downtown today in San Antonio. Meanwhile, at a protest outside the Bexar County Courthouse yesterday, it was a rare flash of emotion from Mayor Ron Nirenberg. And he tells News 4 San Antonio's Jim Lefkoe about exactly what he meant and how he plans to move forward with real change.
Mayor Nirenberg is trying to take ownership of the daily protests in a substantive way. But will it be enough to quell the unrest?
Hold me accountable for it, because I'm the mayor of this goddamn city, and we're going to make change together, okay? God bless you all.
That's what Mayor Nirenberg told a crowd of reform-minded protesters yesterday. He felt even stronger about it today.
It's my responsibility to care for the city in all aspects, and that's what I'm going to do. What do you mean by I'm mayor of this goddamn city? It was the heat of the moment, of course. The message is that I am the leader of the city. These are extraordinary issues that we have to tackle as a community, and I want to be held accountable for that.
The words were not lost on Pharaoh Clark. He's the leader of a group called Uniting America Through Wisdom.
I was actually happy about that because it showed to me the first time that I seen the actual emotion, which let me know that it was real.
His group is meeting with the mayor to advocate for a series of 10 reforms. Those range from an independent police review board run by civilians to a public website that lists police records. Until progress is made, the protest marches will continue.
There will be no stop at all until the people feel like enough has been done.
Jim Lefkoe, News 4 San Antonio.
Believe that.
Okay. Anybody, what did you see?
Mix, a blend of the Hebrews and non-Hebrews working together.
Okay.
I can tell you right off the bat, you got a leader named Pharaoh that has that is supposed to be representing a community that's enslaved, that's walking, and he's the leader. And it's a picture.
Come on, bro.
It's a picture of what we have going on in the spirit realm, as he was just talking about. We are being led. We're so deceived we can't even see our very leaders are those that are leading us right to the slaughter. We got Pharaoh. It's apropos that his name is Pharaoh.
Come on.
Apropos. It ain't by circumstance.
It ain't Jamal.
Pharaoh.
It ain't.
This is what
Laquan.
the enemy is doing in our community. He is leading you straight to hell with leaders that we put up.
And he don't look like a man. He's sitting there with the red
Keisha
shirt
part two.
and his hair pressed
Keisha part
out.
two.
He don't look like a man.
But this is the exact image of Hasatan.
And he's a Democrat. You know they put shit. We'll get there in a second. You ahead of me.
Now, Rick, you want to add anything to that?
Again, in the video, we saw him showing quote unquote emotions. Well, what do you know about emotions?
Yeah, deceiving.
Deceiving. But he says that this Pharaoh that's been raised up here in San Antonio, who has the ear of the man that's telling you to stay in your house, don't go to work, you can't go to church, you better not break the rules and regulations that we put before you. I'm going to put my foot on your neck. He got a Pharaoh whispering in his ear.
So, Dave, can I add one more thing? You also see that he puts a pacifier in the mouth of the Hebrews. And a pacifier is not substance. It's enough to get you to stop crying, but it's not substance. He puts a pacifier in your mouth to get them to stop whining and crying. And that's just, it's fake. It's basically what I'm saying.
I told you guys, I said, the Most High has given into the hands of the Hebrew that whatever you call it, it shall be. Whatever you endorse, that's what it's going to be. So guess what? Mayor Nuremberg is smart. So he knows he need a Hebrew. And he goes to get Pharaoh. And the thing is, see now what most of you should have done, I'm gonna run it one more time.
Now to our public safety headquarters.
I'm gonna run it one more time.
Again,
I
this
want you
is
to
a
catch
live look at protest one of two downtown today in San Antonio. Meanwhile, at a protest.
Hence why I want to go downtown. But the brothers in the Torah community too busy trying to get their houses straight. So I either have to go by myself or find somebody like Rick who's ready to go. But you got to know what you're doing. This ain't no carnival. Understand, you battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, wickedness. We going at them with the shofars, and the shofar is our number one voice because it changes atmospheres. So I know a lot of people want to go in their zeal, and I say I don't mind if you go as long as you sit back quiet. I said, you got to know the laws of the Most High, and you got to know the schemes of your enemy to deal with this. This ain't no joke. You go down there and think you ain't. Next thing you know, them Hebrews roll up on you. Them Hebrews roll up on you. What you gonna do? They better see something in you that intimidates them more than your body style, more than your structure. Do you follow me? Do you follow me? Okay. All right.
And we got another hint that watch. There's some hypocrisy in this video. Just watch it.
Inside the Bexar County Courthouse yesterday, it was a rare flash of emotion from Mayor Ron Nuremberg. And he tells News 4 San Antonio's Jim Lefko about exactly what he meant. Protests be enough to quell the...
Because I'm the mayor of this goddamn city, and we're going to make change together.
Pharaoh right to the side.
That's what Mayor Nuremberg told the crowd.
And then he hands the mic to Pharaoh. He hands the mic to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh is actually the one who begins to talk to the crowd.
Poor-minded protesters yesterday. He felt even stronger about it today.
It's my responsibility to care for the city in all aspects, and that's what I'm going to do. What do you mean by I'm mayor of this goddamn city? It was the heat of the moment, of course. The message is that I am the leader of the city. These are extraordinary issues that we have to tackle.
You see no social distancing?
No, man.
But he's the one who's passing mandatory for you to be social distance and for you to have a mask. You will see hardly no social distance. Joker rock on with their shirts on, barely got clothes on. They think about no.
Go back to what they were talking.
Yeah, but then he social distance. Yeah,
but not that one. The other one, in the crowd.
Oh yeah, yeah. But so here,
But just one more thing I want y'all to catch. You need to write this down.
I am the leader of the city. These are extraordinary issues that we have to tackle as a community, and I want to be held accountable to that.
The words were not lost on Pharaoh Clark. He's the leader of a group called Uniting America Through Wisdom. That was it.
He's the group. Now you should be writing down Uniting America Through Wisdom and study the schemes of your enemy. This video is not for your entertainment. We started off by saying learn the schemes of your enemy. So if I'm listening, I'm like, okay, who is Uniting America Through Wisdom, and who is this joke? Because I need to learn, because this is in my city. This ain't no Baltimore, this ain't no Minneapolis, it's right here. So I need to learn the schemes of my enemy. Remember what I told you, the Most High is giving you a chance. The enemy is
happy about that.
The enemy is
going to me the first time.
The enemy is gonna dip his hand. And when he raises it back up, you better see what's in his hand. Because I can talk to Courtney all I want to talk to. You can talk to Janelle all you want to talk to. The problem is they're gonna have to go hang out with their Hebrew friends who ain't got no wisdom. And guess what? They're gonna be like Elijah, sitting back, let me just be quiet because they're gonna attack me. And I don't even know the schemes of them. So I mean, you better be able to be skillfully say, here's what's going on. Because the scripture says the Most High shall give you a mouth that'll silence all of your enemies. But you gotta know the schemes of your enemies to do that. So most Hebrews get quiet, even though they know the truth. They're not skilled enough to articulate. So
another thing with this, who is supposed to have the ear of the king? We supposed to have the ear of the king.
Those who are walking in the ways of the Most High.
So what the enemy has done, he sent a counterfeit to get to the king before we get to him. Because it's about us ultimately. So we either get in our position.
And this is San Antonio. We ain't even got nowhere else yet. Pharaoh is running things in San Antonio along with the mayor.
So we get in our position, or that he will send someone else to get in our position to have the ears of the king, who issues the decrees. And this man has said he has. You go to the other part yet about Nuremberg?
Go ahead.
Okay. Nuremberg, I knew immediately that the enemy is going to use Nuremberg even bigger and better bigger and worse, I should say, because of the fact of what I saw here with the Pharaoh. So I said, Father, I know he's going to use him to take him to another level nationally. So here comes, because Nuremberg has passed something. What he's done is he wants to come to your house.
Come on.
Nuremberg wants to come to knock on your door and to make sure and check your house about what's going on in your house because of this agenda that wants to, it's about the rules again now. So he raises him up. He puts out a decree to come to our house, check us for coronavirus. Now you won't believe what you want about coronavirus, all right? But now next thing you know, he's on 60 Minutes. Locally, state, he's fighting with our governor right now, right? The governor's saying, oh, y'all can do what y'all want to do. Nuremberg said, no, y'all can't. No, y'all can't. Put on your neck. Put on your neck. And our governor is saying, no, that we need to get this thing back going. We need to go. So before Nuremberg can get his thing going, let's do that joke as national. He's on 60 Minutes last week Sunday. You can go back and find it. Telling the whole world now, keep your foot on your neck.
Who? Pharaoh was on 60 Minutes?
No.
Nuremberg.
Oh, okay.
Nuremberg is.
See, this is where stuff gets deep spiritual. And what I'm getting at is the only way that he can get there is by the powers of principalities moving them in that direction. That's the only way it can happen. So what James talking about, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, we wrestle against demonic beings and powers that are more powerful than anything that we are. Because like James said, if Satan can convince a third of the angels to fight and fall, that's power right there. Because the angels are with God.
Now, Nuremberg, you're right, Barry. Nuremberg got in power here in San Antonio because 12% of San Antonio went to the polls and voted. The Hebrews could have teamed up and went and could have put in power whoever they wanted to put in power. Because only 12% of the citizens in San Antonio voted. That's how he got in power. Now, he mentioned something about Nuremberg being on 60 Minutes. Back in 2008, when we were doing the non-discrimination ordinance right here in San Antonio, which the Supreme Court had just made the law of the land, by the way. When I went down to the city hall to speak, it was called Citizens to be Heard. I spoke exactly what Rick, by this time it wasn't Nuremberg in power, it was Julio Castro.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember speaking to Julio Castro face to face. And I remember Julio Castro was very arrogant because as we went to speak with him, he wouldn't even look up at you. It was him in the city council, he wouldn't even acknowledge you. And if you was involved in that, it was heated in San Antonio. I mean, it was heated on a whole nother level. They had police down there. I mean, it was absolutely something that you've never seen before. And I remember when I went before him to speak, I said, the reason you're damaging this city is because you're not going to have to live here. You're going, because I already knew the schemes of my enemy. I knew he was a puppet of Obama. And Obama had sent out a mandate to mayors, promising them, if you endorse this, we'll move you to the next level. So I spoke to him, and when I said, you're not going to even be here. We're going to be here to clean up this mess. You going to go and work at the White House. He stopped what he doing, he looked up, because I know he's thinking, how the heck does he know that? And I looked at all the citizens, LGBT and everybody, and I said, there has not been one complaint in this city toward LGBT in the history of this city. There has been not one lawsuit of discriminating against the LGBT. I said, this is probably one of the most friendly LGBT cities you're going to ever find. I said, so why are we here? Why are we here trying to pass a mandate to protect you? I said, this is not about protecting you. I said, you're being used as a puppet. I said, this is about dividing you. And I said, whenever someone can divide a people, they can conquer people. And the LGBT was sitting there looking. I said, because you still gonna have to deal with the same emotions you gotta deal with of being who you are when this man leaves. He gonna be sitting up there with Obama somewhere. And that's exactly where he went. So let's go to part two.
The rage over police brutality in our country has gone global. Crowds packed London's Trafalgar Square today, defying the UK's coronavirus lockdown to support the Black Lives Matter movement.
No, I'm gonna wait.
In Berlin,
Now, I want y'all to listen. I'm gonna start it over because there's things, keep in mind. Learning your enemy is in the schemes of your enemy. So there's certain things that you should be listening to and hearing, okay? We're not showing you this for entertainment. We're showing you this because the enemy, the Most High, has allowed you to see the enemy's hand and he's gonna pick it back up. Catch what he shows you.
Hey James, can you let some people back into the meeting?
What's that?
There's some people trying to get into the room.
More people trying to get into the room back there.
Johnny got kicked out. He needs to get back in.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's how it all
Hey, James, this is Roy.
Go ahead, Roy.
Of course, I don't know much about what you guys got on in San Antonio, but just looking at the name Nuremberg, it is an Ashkenazi Jew. So I'm pretty sure that has a lot of implication as what we're dealing with as well.
Okay, I didn't even know that. Okay, so let's lock back in, guys. Guys, I want us to stay, and please understand, I want us to stay in this vein because you need to see what he wants you to see, all right? Give us probably, are we good for 30 minutes? Yes. Everybody do 30 minutes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's lock in, because keep in mind, you need to see.
The rage over police brutality in our country has gone global. Crowds packed London's Trafalgar Square today, defying the UK's coronavirus lockdown to support the Black Lives Matter movement. Others in Berlin protested outside the U.S. embassy there. The movement even caught attention as far away as Iran. When we come back,
what is the enemy showing you there?
Who our enemies are, or who's working in cahoots, I guess, for America to come for us.
Okay, you're partially right. Okay, all right. What else did you see? What else did you hear?
And he was talking about the order, what is it? No, the order where they basically aren't supposed to be there, but they divide the order because they're all congregated.
There you go, Keisha. So he's telling you, coronavirus, there's something bigger than the coronavirus. So we can defy the order of coronavirus because this trumps it. So that lets you know right there, coronavirus can't be that serious. Because this trumps the coronavirus, he says. We don't need to do no social distancing here. We don't need to do no mask. I guess the coronavirus says, oh, I know them. Or something, whatever, right? But he's telling you, this agenda trumps the coronavirus agenda. The coronavirus agenda has they've moved to the next stage. I'm gonna go through these stages in a second. I meant to do that before I started this video. Because everything is lining up, line up on line. So he says, I'm gonna run it one more time.
rage over police brutality in our country has gone global. Crowds packed London.
Gone global. Here's my question for you. Mrs. Sonny sitting right there. Mrs. Sonny's the oldest person in this room. Mrs. Sonny, have you ever seen in your life where a nation like Great Britain, Canada, Iran, all these nations begin to protest over a black man's death in the U.S.? Never. Never. So why are they protesting now? Who are these people? Understanding the schemes of your enemy. Mr. Sonny's 70 what? Mr. Sonny's 73. Mr. Sonny's been around for the civil rights and everything. He's never seen where other nations begin to protest and tear things up in their street over the death of a Hebrew. Come on, y'all, think.
Blacks all over.
Oh, it's deeper than that.
I'm wondering the convergence between what's going on in Israel. So the Pakistanians are being pushed out. Netanyahu is trying to get an ordinance signed, and he said he's waiting on U.S. Donald Trump. Well, he said if Donald Trump approves this ordinance, he said if I can get more the Israeli leaders on board, then they'll have their Israeli state. And then they can.
That's partially right.
So
but
I'm wondering.
You got to tie this into where
Are
we
we
start.
being distracted?
No. Here's what you're watching. Remember where we started. We started with Revelation, right? We started Revelation because all Revelation is telling you is how the new world order forms. That's all it's telling you. That's all Revelation is. It's a new world order that will soon end up over with one leader controlling, right? But nations have to begin to posture with one another. So now all you're seeing, and as we get deeper into it, it'll unfold. So my point is, George Floyd and everything that you're watching in other nations has nothing to do with George Floyd. Zero to do with George Floyd. This is about destabilizing nations. Because guess what? The enemy comes in to bring peace in the middle of what? Chaos. So I need chaos in all these nations so I can come in with a solution.
And is it not, I mean, to me, I don't feel it's by happenstance that we were all on all across the world, everybody was supposed to be, quarantined or at home. And then this happened. So of course, people been locked up for months. So of course, when something like this happens, of course, everybody's going, it's just like, okay, give them this right now, because now they're just going to go crazy because they've been locked up all this time, all this pent up emotion, everything. And so this happens, this is just going to make them go nuts. And that's exactly what happened.
But see, Keisha, this is where Minister Pride gets irritated, because when this jumped off, the first thing I said is, forget coronavirus. This is a fraud. Hebrew brothers got mad at me. Mr. Pride, you're being irresponsible. You're being this. You're putting people's lives at jeopardy. Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to talk to you no more. Whatever. I don't want to have a conversation. No problem. And I kept saying, to understand this puzzle, you got to start putting this puzzle together a long time ago. Long time ago. This is a puzzle. And you got to, every piece fits perfectly. I said, this is probably, or you could call it a building. This is like the 5th big block of this building. I know what every block looks like. I said, so now people are saying, hold on. Why couldn't we go to church? But George Floyd could have 4 funerals packed and ain't nobody social distance. I got all the pictures. But we couldn't go to church and worship, but he could have 4 funerals. Everybody packed, half of them ain't got no mask on. How can they walk and tear up a city? If this thing is so dangerous, it's a pandemic. How can they walk the streets with no mask on and they say this trumps coronavirus? How can you wear a mask and nobody mandate what type of mask it is? It could be a crochet mask and won't nobody say nothing.
You know what? It's distraction.
Yeah.
Right? It's things because the coronavirus wasn't working at first.
That's it.
It wasn't working. It was there, but not everybody was with it. This is something that the enemy let happen, right? So now you got all this focus on there, and people's minds are off of the coronavirus, but now they're on this. They're thinking they're doing a good thing, right? By protesting, everybody coming together. But it's the deception.
It's the deception there. And think about this. Think about this. I said,
James.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, I have a little bit of an issue about the coronavirus, because from the medical perspective, it is real. It's not a hoax, because with all of the bodies we're burying and they're piling up. So what exactly do you mean when you say that? Because surely you're not saying that you don't think this is real, because we are seeing the results of that.
Let me answer that. The only difference between what you're witnessing now and what has been going on every year is now they're counting the numbers and putting them on television. See, nobody was counting 80,000 people who died of the flu last year and putting it on television. The hospitals wasn't getting $13,000 for every positive diagnosis, $39,000 for every person that goes on a ventilator. I said, remove coronavirus. I told folks, I said, say you remove coronavirus and market the flu just like you did coronavirus, and you would have the same results. Now,
No,
keep
but
it.
I disagree, because the problem with this virus is that it's surpassed and it's actually worse. Because the flu, you're right, we didn't, because it's something we've adjusted to
Helen,
that happens annually. But this is worse.
Helen is a nurse, guys.
I understand that, but here's what we got to understand about coronavirus: the numbers of coronavirus. The numbers. The CDC has just issued the latest mandate on the coronavirus. And it's because guess what? The CDC don't really even need it anymore. And they're telling you that over half the people that supposedly died of coronavirus,
George was one of them.
thank you, didn't die of coronavirus. You could be hit by a bus. And if you got a fever, and here's the part that you don't understand. They went back. Italy was the #1 country that went back, took death certificates of people already dead. We ain't talking about no corona. And said, oh, they were showing symptoms, but we didn't know about coronavirus then. And all them dead people, they quoted as deaths. You want to know why? We get the numbers up so the hospitals can get the money. Now, here's how we know. Now, keep in mind, think about this. We began to build hospitals in 2 weeks. How do you construct a hospital in 2 weeks if you don't have everything already in place? How do you put all these hospitals up in a week?
And when Trump first got in office, he put a whole bunch of what are the little care centers are? The little care urgent care centers all around.
But here's what people don't realize. The hospitals themselves, after being up for 2 weeks, shut down because guess what? They would have 2 patients in these, what we call these mobile hospitals. 90% of them shut down in 2 weeks. So I respect what Helen is saying. But understand this. If this thing is as serious as they say it is, they wouldn't let you walk around with no crochet mask on. They would say these are the mandatory masks. They wouldn't let you walk around with no nylon stocking, woman's nylon stockings. They wouldn't let you take the bandana out of your back pocket and just wrap it around your head and go in Walmart, half of it all down here on your chin.
The Trump rally.
I mean, think about this. Go in the very stores where they met. I go to Walmart. You gotta wear your mask on and can take it off when you're in there, and don't nobody say one thing to you. Because they know our apartment is for you to have it on when you get in here. Nobody say nothing. Why have you seen all the CDC, all the announcements, all the press conferences, ain't nobody got a mask on? Nobody. The reporter ain't got no mask on. Trump ain't got no mask on. Dr. Fauci ain't got no mask on. Nobody got no mask on. You got one on. And here's the thing. If they wouldn't have put a monetary tag on it, I would have been cool with it. But the scripture says the love of money is what? The root of all evil. So why would you even begin to offer hospitals $13,900 for every positive diagnosis and then wonder why the numbers are going up? Why would you offer a hospital $39,000 for every person that goes on a ventilator and wonder why the numbers are going up?
So James,
well, I wouldn't dispute that, James. This is Raymond. But a lot of that is just based on greed and living in a capitalist society. I would say
Raymond's a nurse also.
I would say that the numbers could be inflated.
Hey, Raymond, could you start over, man, so we can hear you? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying that I wouldn't disagree with that, but you have to realize we do live in a capitalist society, and a society that's based on greed. So I don't dispute any of that.
You're right. Let me back up because I want to lay something out before we go any further, guys. We got what, 15 minutes?
We got an hour.
I want to lay something out.
You got all the time you need.
I need to lay out the whole. I should have done this earlier. I should have laid out the whole timeline. So I'm gonna lay out a timeline for you because I told you we started off in Ephesians, learning the schemes of your enemy, right? Because if you you got skins, you can see everything. So I'm gonna lay out a timeline. On 5 February, because that's where things really got heated. 5 February, we had the 3rd failed impeachment of Trump. It was really a false coup. 3rd one happened on 5 February by the power elites, led by 2 people, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. 3rd failed attempt. 3 strikes and you're what? Out. You got to come up with something else. 3 strikes and you're out. So, led by the power elites, by the Democrats, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. 2 weeks later, they discovered the first case of COVID-19. 2 weeks later. On March 11th, the COVID-19 was declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization.